Do policy limits cover pain and suffering? If you have ever wondered how policy limits relate to pain and suffering in car insurance, you are not alone. Understanding this aspect can help you make informed decisions when shopping for auto insurance. Policy limits are the maximum amounts an insurance company will pay for a covered claim. In car insurance, these limits are typically split into categories like bodily injury liability and property damage liability. Bodily injury liability coverage is particularly important. It helps cover medical bills, lost income, and yes, pain and suffering if you are found at fault in an accident. When you look at policy limits for bodily injury liability, you might see them expressed as two numbers, like $100,000 per person and $300,000 per accident. The first number indicates the maximum amount that can be paid for each individual injured, while the second number shows the total amount available for all injured parties in that accident. Now, here is where it gets interesting. Policy limits do indeed cover pain and suffering as part of bodily injury liability coverage. However, the extent of that coverage depends on the specific limits you choose for your policy. If the total costs for medical bills, lost income, and pain and suffering exceed your policy limits, you could be responsible for paying the remaining amount out of your own pocket. For example, let's say your policy has a bodily injury limit of $100,000 per person and $300,000 per accident. If the total costs for injuries in an accident exceed these amounts, you could be liable for any excess. This is why it is essential to carefully consider your policy limits when purchasing car insurance. You want to ensure you have adequate protection for yourself and others. When shopping for auto insurance, take the time to evaluate your needs and the potential risks you face. Higher policy limits may cost more in premiums, but they can provide peace of mind knowing you are better protected. Always ask your insurance agent to explain the different coverage options and how they relate to policy limits. This way, you can make a well-informed choice that suits your situation.